Hi again everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another speed build video in The Sims 4. Happy Sunday, I hope you're all having the most amazing day ever so far and thank you so much for joining me here today. So today we are back, we are building in Brindleton Bay and we are building a huge dream generations family home. This house, if I'm remembering correctly, has 6 bedrooms and I want to say 5 bathrooms. So we've got space downstairs for the grandparents. There's also a master suite with an ensuite as well, and then up on the top floor we have all the rooms for the kids along with some additional bathrooms. So I'm not gonna shy away from saying that this house took me around, I'd say just short of 10 hours all in. And normally I do not spend that long on these kinds of houses, but I definitely underestimated just how big this house was. So I actually built this shell, I think it was last weekend I believe I built this, and I was so excited about it because I thought, well, I'll get it out this coming weekend, and the plan was to get it out yesterday and then to film a brand new episode for my Let's Build for Your Sims, which is a newish series on the channel that I've only done 1 episode for so far. So that next episode is coming, I promise. So that was the plan. Unfortunately, it didn't go to plan because this house it's huge. It's beyond huge. And when I say it took me 10 hours, I'm including all the failed floor plans, all the failed kitchens that I tried, everything, all in 10 hours. And it's broken me. I'm not even gonna lie to you, it's definitely broken me. I'm exhausted. I have another build idea for the channel that I would like to get started today if I've got the energy. It's currently 8 AM on this lovely Sunday morning and I've got quite a bit to do today. So I'm hoping I do get to sit down and actually build something else. I've got a couple of things in the pipeline, but anyway. So I will put a reference image on screen right now for you. So as you can see, it's very loosely based off this reference image. It's definitely not exactly as it is, but I used it as inspiration for the house. And what I wanted to do, initially I wasn't thinking it was going to be a generations house. Initially I was just thinking it's just going to be like another largish family house. And then when I got to particularly the ground floor, I realized this house it's huge and I couldn't work out what floor plan would be best for this house because it's very wide from the front, and then depth wise it's not that deep. You'll have to see when we get to the inside. I really can't explain it. But the exterior colour scheme, I wanted it to be this kind of dreamy, sort of soft colour scheme because it feels like it's been a while since I've done a colour scheme like this. I'm trying to remember I feel like a lot of my houses recently have had quite bold colours, and so I wanted it to be quite soft and dreamy, and so this is what we ended up coming up with here. Looking back, I'm just going to say it before someone thinks it. You've probably already thought it anyway. I probably should have brought the house forward slightly because as you can see, there isn't much of a back garden. I did manage to fit a couple of kids' activities, a barbecue and a seating area back there, but there's no room for a pool or anything like that, unfortunately. It's just not the way it panned out, but if I had brought the house further forward, I probably would have been able to fit a half decent back garden, but that's my bad. It's totally on me. But by the time I'd realised that, I'd already landscaped all the front and then set all the front, and I was like, I'm not moving it because it's just going to glitch out. Items are going to be deleted and it's just not going to, it's not going to work. So I ended up just leaving it as it is. But I do think it turned out really nicely, and I'm very happy with how the house turned out in general. Considering I had a reference image that I used as the basic shape, and then I sort of went off on and did my own thing and started adding bits here and there just to give it a bit more character, a little bit more RachelPedd flair. I don't even know if that's a thing, but you know what I mean. I just wanted to make it my own, and I'm really, really happy with it actually. It feels like it's been a really long time since I've done a generations house for you all. I understand that if you are playing with a legacy or a generations family, then these houses are so important for gameplay and for your families. So I really hope at least one or two of you have some sort of use for this house, because it really is stunning, and I put a lot of work into the inside as well. I also forgot to mention that there is an office downstairs as well, so if the dynamic of your family is slightly different, you can always change that into a bedroom of some sort if you wanted to, so that would work as well. In my head, the way that I was thinking it, we had 2 parents, 2 grandparents, and then 4 kids. So that's your 8 Sims. Now upstairs there is a room for a toddler, there's a room for a teenager, and then there's a room, in my head it was for like 2 children, but one of the rooms could definitely be aimed more towards like maybe like a child that's probably going to age up into a teen very soon. So that was kind of my thought process with the upstairs, but we won't harp on too much about that. We'll talk about that when we get to the upstairs. And also, while we're here, I hope you have some sort of beverage, because this is a longer speed build than usual. Typically my speed builds are around half an hour long. This is around 40, excuse me, what on earth was that sound? 40 minutes or there or thereabouts. I know it's only 10 minutes longer, but I had to trim out some of the footage. I didn't include me decorating some of the hallways and then some of the bathrooms as well. We would have been here for an hour. And like, as much as I appreciate that some of you might want to stay around for that long, I think most people, like, who has time for that? Who has time to listen to me ramble on for an hour? Not many people, right? I don't think I would want to listen to me talk for an hour. Anyway, so this is the landscaping. I think it looks really, really nice. And with the landscaping, I wanted to keep it mainly green, but with pops of like purple and peach and white, just to keep it really fresh and fun, and just keep that typical Generations family house sort of theme. Even though still at this point, I was not thinking that this could even be a Generations house. As I said before, it was not until I got onto the interior and started the ground floor of this house and I realized, okay, this is and I'm going to keep saying it, but this is a big house. Now you will notice as well at the end with the screenshots, I have included the floor plans for the ground floor and the upper floor. I've been asked a few times by a few people to start including them in the screenshots at the end so that you guys can see the floor plan from a bird's eye view, and I have decided to start doing that because I would agree that that's definitely very helpful for you all if you're trying to build a house that's similar, or if you use speed builds as like a tutorial sort of style. I don't know how many people actually do that, but I know there's a few people that watch my speed builds that try to like build along with me. Does that make sense? And speaking of tutorials, I am planning on, I've got a few lists on my phone of video ideas, and one of the sort of themes, I suppose you could say, is tutorials for the channel. So I have asked you guys this question a couple of times before, and I think at the moment you're all wanting to see mainly landscaping tutorials and roofing tutorials as well. So I am more than happy to speak from like how I do things. I'm not saying that the way that I do things is correct, but definitely just speaking from, this is how I would landscape this house, this is how I would put the roof on this house. And so I am planning on doing some tutorials as well this summer, so that's very exciting because I've never done tutorials before. I don't know how it's going to go. I'm also planning on doing a few more like custom content builds, even though 99% of my builds on this channel will remain custom content free, because I have to appreciate that not everyone can have access to custom content and things like that. I need to record like a base game build. There's lots that I need to do, so I have a list of things that I need to work through, and just know that I am trying to stick to that list as much as possible, even though sometimes it's nice, like if I'm feeling like building X and I'm not really feeling like building one of the builds from my list, it's still nice for me to sit down and be like, well, I'm really in the mood to build this, so that's what I'm going to do today. Anyway, you will see me here struggling a little bit with the roofing because I was trying. I actually uploaded a screenshot of this build last weekend to my YouTube community tab and my Twitter as well. So if you are subscribed to me on YouTube, you might have already seen this, or if you follow me on Twitter, then you might have already seen this. But I'd already posted like a work in progress shot, and while I was looking at it, I was thinking that it looked kind of unbalanced, particularly along the left and then the top right. I don't know what it was, it just didn't look quite right to me. So I was trying something with the roofing on the right hand side. I ended up scrapping it entirely because then it was looking too heavy on the right hand side and then there wasn't enough going out on the left. So I just ended up putting this very slight bump out on the left here, which doesn't sound like much, but it definitely in my mind sort of appeased that, oh well, I think it looks a bit better now. So I do record me doing the back of the house as well. Typically I leave this out of my builds, but particularly when it's pretty much the same as the front, but I did include it in this footage because if you are following this for some sort of like house build or whatever, then you can see how I did it. I ended up making my own windows using the windows from the cats and dogs pack and just like mushing them together to make them look like they were like one window, if that makes sense. And these dark brown flower boxes I thought worked really, really well. If you are returning to the channel, then you've probably seen me. I'll focus in on the flower boxes because I don't think I've built a house, well, not like a suburban house without flower boxes before, because in my head, like, they just look so much better with flower boxes, but it takes me so long to decide which ones I want to use because we have quite a few to choose from within the game. So it's something that I'll like fixate on, and there's no reason for it, it's just like me and my brain. I don't know why I do it. Anyway, whatever. So this is the side of the house, just adding some flower boxes here. You can see the back garden or lack thereof, but like I said, there is room for your Sims to come out here and have a barbecue and for the kids to come and play on the monkey bars and things like that. So it's functional, it's just not as big as I would have wanted, and that is 100% my fault, so I do apologize for that. If you place this and want to shimmy the build forward, please feel free to do so and add like a swimming pool or whatever, but it wasn't something that I was prepared to do because I was just terrified that some items were going to get lost along the way and then it was going to glitch out. So I thought I'll just leave it. At least it has some sort of back garden. At least there's something there. At least it doesn't just end at the back. And I did try and sort of fluff it up with some landscaping as well to make it look at least half decent. But I'll try not to make that mistake again. I have made this mistake before, and it's completely my fault. It's something that I should be checking when I have the shell of the house and then nothing else. Anyway, I'm sure you guys will get over it. It'll be fine. So pretty shortly we are going to be moving on to the interior, but we are just sort of shimmying some of the landscaping around and making sure that it doesn't clip into the house, because there's nothing worse than seeing bushes or trees peeking through the walls. Like, who wants that? Nobody. So I always make sure that we don't have that problem. But yes, I have noticed at the moment that these white hydrangeas from the base game are one of my sort of go-to bushes at the moment. Bushes, flowers, I think they come under bushes instead of flowers. But in this white swatch, I seem to be gravitating towards them quite often recently, and I don't really know why that is. I'll go through phases of using particular items for like every single build, and then I'll stop and then I'll go back to them. It's just odd. Anyway, this is the interior. Can you see how big this house is? Like, what is this all about? Why do I do it to myself? I have no idea. Anyway, it took me a little while to work out the floor plan, so this is my 4th or 5th attempt, and I'm going to say that shamelessly because there's nothing wrong with that. It took me a long time to try and figure this out, and that's okay. But yes, I ended up coming up with something that I thought worked. I think I make some tweaks here and there. I think I do, I'm not entirely sure. And I spent an embarrassingly long time on the kitchen because the kitchen is particularly big. And I was struggling trying to find clutter pieces to sort of like clutter up the counters because there were so many counters. This is not the kind of size kitchen, that I would generally build, but obviously because of the size of the house, it has to be quite big. Now you're probably looking and thinking, Rachel, that's not that big a kitchen. You're right, it's probably not, but for me, it just overwhelmed me a little bit and I got a little bit stuck. Initially we go for like this soft sort of like wood toned colour scheme, and then I end up changing the swatches. We end up going for like a soft brown with pops of, I'd say like a powder blue colour. So I think it worked out really nicely. It's not a colour scheme that I would generally use for a kitchen, but I think it works with this particular house. It took me a long time to get to the end product, that's all. An embarrassingly amount of time. When I'm looking back at the footage now, it's definitely the room that I spent the longest on. Because typically what I'll do is I'll cut between each room so that I can do a transition within the speed build. So that it's easier for me to see where to start talking about the room that we're currently working on, and then where to finish talking about the room that we were working on. I hope that makes sense. I'm not very good at explaining things, but I'm just looking at the footage now, and this room took me so long. I can't even go there. And I don't know why it stumped me. I think what I started to do yesterday morning, because I started the interior of this house yesterday morning and I just worked on it for a solid, I'd say 6.5 hours, taking breaks, of course, but I had the Sims up and running for about 6.5 hours, maybe just short of 7 hours. And I started to overthink things, and this is my attempt, I'd say my third attempt at the kitchen, but my 7th attempt at a floor plan, because like I said, the house is just such it's big, it's wide, it really just stumped me when I got to the inside, and I thought, what am I going to do with this space? And that's when I realised I can turn it into a generations house, and it would work really, really well, because the rooms as well are nice and big, that is perfect for gameplay and things like that. So I'm really, really hoping that somebody, at least somewhere, has a use for this house, because it would just make my day. Because I spent so long on it, so it would make my day if somebody out there had some sort of use for it and ended up using it in the game. Anyway, you can see here we are cluttering up the kitchen, or we're starting to clutter up this huge kitchen, and I'm just trying to pull out anything and everything that I can find that I think would sort of work within this space. Now, what I didn't want to do is clutter up just some of the counters and then leave some of the counters bare, because then it starts looking really, really weird. Even though I think when I was taking the screenshots, I was like, ooh, I went to town on that clutter in this kitchen. So depending on your personal taste, you might want to turn it back when you download this house. If you download this house, you might want to turn it back. And this is when I realised that I wanted to change the swatch of the counters, and I think that softer brown works so much better with the blue. And then I use these tiles from the Parenthood pack, because it feels like it's been a really long time since I've used those tiles in a kitchen. I could be completely wrong, but that's definitely what it feels like. And I think with the style for this house, I was thinking I just wanted it to be warm and cozy and family friendly. I wasn't necessarily thinking that it had a particular style. There's definitely elements of contemporary mixed with traditional, mixed with like, I don't really know what, but there's items used from a whole bunch of different packs. Not pack restricted, this build at all. I have been promising a pack restricted build on the channel as well for a long time, but I don't want to say procrastinating, because that's definitely not the word I'm looking for. I keep coming up with all these ideas, and then I'll come to my list and I'll be like, oh, I don't know what to build today. And then I'll think of something else entirely that's not on the list, and then I'll build that. And then I get into this like vicious cycle. It's quite funny, really. It's just typically me. But anyway, you can probably see that the kitchen is looking a little bit more lived in, a little bit more cluttered. I think that's an understatement. But anyway, I also decided to put a popcorn machine in here. I don't think I've ever put one in a build before, but hey, we had the space for it, so I was like, maybe for family movie night, you Sims can come and make some popcorn and then chill out in the living room, watch a film, eat some popcorn, have a good time. That was sort of the thought process there, but I'm like literally looking at this room and I'm thinking, when do I stop cluttering? Because I'm looking now and I'm thinking, ooh, there is a lot going on in this room. I would not blame you at all if you downloaded this house and just ripped this kitchen out and started again. Because I'm going to be honest, it's probably my least favourite room of the house. I really like how the living room came out. The kids' rooms upstairs were a lot of fun, and even the master bedroom I think is really nice, which I don't normally say. There's also a utility room on the ground floor as well. I don't think I mentioned that. There's a utility room, so it has like a washing machine and a dryer in there as well, which I thought would be really handy. And I tried to include laundry baskets in all the bedrooms, but looking back, I'm thinking that I forgot them in the master bedroom and the grandparents' room, but I think in their bathrooms they have the laundry baskets, so I think that kind of makes up for that, because I feel like when you Sims like get ready for a shower or a bath and they're in the room, then the clothes just go into the laundry basket, right? Is that how that works? I'm pretty sure that's how that works. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Anyway, you will be happy to know that we are almost done with the kitchen. we're almost moving on, and I can't actually remember. I think we do the dining room next, so there's also a separate dining room in this house as well, because that was also important to me, because I was thinking, well, for things like Winterfest and like birthdays and things, then this family would probably need a separate dining space to like throw, like not necessarily a party, but like, you know, have like a gathering in a separate room. So this is the dining room. I had a hard time with item styles, colours, and then placement, even though the room I think works really, really well as a dining room. That's what I'm trying to say. It works really well as a dining room. I also included a fireplace in here as well, and then there's a little chair in the corner. I was thinking of going like really traditional with this chair and things, and then I started to think there's too many different styles going on in this room, and it just doesn't look quite right. So I think I end up stripping back the fireplace, and then I change the chair out, and I just make it look a little bit more muted. I think it's probably the word I would look for there. And I did want to use that fireplace from Cottage Living, but I ended up going to this one from Parenthood. And then, as I said, I took out the chair and the lamp and everything else, because it wasn't making sense in my head. And so this is what I end up putting in instead. I really like how this room came out. I think if I were to go back, I would probably declutter just a little bit more. This house is incredibly cluttered. I will sort of say that, because I always feel the need to fill every corner, every empty wall, every like just, and it's something that I'm trying to work on, because I feel like I realized with this house I needed to turn it back. There's one of the kids' rooms that's so overly cluttered. I can't even tell you. Like one of the walls, I was taking the screenshots and I was looking through them last night, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, like I really did go to town on that. But we'll talk a bit more about that when we get to that room. So the dining room is almost finished. As you can see, this is what I'm talking about. So like I fill every single corner with something, and there's not always a need for that. Sometimes it's okay to just put a lamp or a plant or a chair down. You don't have to put all three down. But I felt like I'd committed to this style, and I thought, well, let's just continue this sort of style throughout the entire house. So that's what I ended up doing. I also took away 2 of the chairs because it was making it look overly crowded, and there's obviously bar stools in the kitchen on the island as well. And I'm just looking back and I'm thinking, did I change the colour of the island counters? Oh, I really hope I did. If not, I will make sure that they are changed before I put this on the gallery. Anyway, this is the downstairs bathroom. It is a full bathroom. So you've got like a bath shower combination in here. We've got a toilet, and then we've obviously got a sink. That's typically what a bathroom consists of. It's nothing too special, but I figured I would record me doing at least one of the bathrooms so that you guys could see the sort of style that we were going for. The rest of the bathrooms in the build follow the exact same style, although they are laid out slightly differently depending on the size of that particular bathroom. So I think it's worth noting that I do not film me doing every single bathroom, because I think it's a waste of time. As I've said before, especially with my houses, because I typically keep the bathrooms pretty much the same throughout the build. This is the utility room. I figured that this was sort of like a natural way to go with this particular floor plan, because I also feel like it's been a while since I've included a utility room in a build, but I know how important it is for gameplay and realism and things like that. If you do not have the laundry stuff pack, I don't know what it's called, laundry day stuff pack I think it's called, then please feel free to turn this into something else. You could have it as a separate office, or like a small bedroom, like whatever you want to do. It would definitely work as a particularly like maybe an older child's room, like with a single bed. I think it would take the size, and they would obviously have access to the bathroom next door as well, which would be quite handy. So yes, this is a utility room. I'm just adding some clutter here just to make it look a little bit more lived in, a little bit more real, I suppose you could say. It's a really good size actually. You will notice that a lot of the rooms in this house are a really good size, and I think that's why it would be fantastic for gameplay. So you've got a lot of room. Your Sims have got a lot of room. You can take some really nice screenshots, and hopefully, yes, it will look lovely. So this is the downstairs office. So if you do not want this to be an office, then please feel free to change this into whatever you like. It could be a skill building room. It could be another bedroom, whatever you like really. But I just figured in my head it was going to be a downstairs office. When I was sorting out the floor plan, I thought that's going to be the downstairs office. So this would make a really nice guest room, or like I said, a skill building room. It could be like a mini gym, whatever you wanted to do really. It's a very versatile floor plan, so if you want to change things up, please feel free to do so. So there's not too much going on in this room, to be honest. I wanted to keep it relatively muted compared to the rest of the house, because I wanted this to be sort of like a tranquil space where your Sims can go and unwind, spend a bit of time on the computer. Maybe one of the parents does a bit of writing, working from home. Like, it doesn't really, like, you know, whatever. What you guys can obviously, you've got the Sims, so you know what you're going to be using this room for, but that's sort of what I had in my head. So just cluttering up a little bit here. What was that word? Cluttering. I feel like I've said clutter a lot. I'm going to try and tone it back, because I don't want to just be saying clutter throughout the entire build. So we are almost done with this room, and then I can't remember which room we move on to. Is it the living room? It's the living room. This is the living room, so it's a really nice size. And what I end up doing in here is I end up putting like a really nice seating area here, and then near the archway I put like the dollhouse from the Eco Lifestyle pack, and like a little chair for the child Sims to sit on. It's just a really nice room, and it's nicely decorated. It's fun, it's fresh, it's a slightly different colour scheme to the rest of the house, I would say, but that's all right. I didn't want everything to be too matchy, because remember, this is a generations family home filled with character and just love, and it's just family oriented, and I didn't want it to be too matching. But I would say with this particular living room, it's definitely more contemporary than, I was going to say the kitchen, but the kitchen's quite contemporary as well. I'd say with hints of like that traditional suburban vibe as well. But yeah, I knew I wanted to use these sofas from the Dream Home Decorator. Wow, I almost said kit then as well. Dream Home Decorator game pack. I love the items from that pack so much. I use them in, I would say like 99% of my builds, because I love the clutter that came with them, and just like the overall style, the rugs and just everything. I love it so much. And I did think about doing like a sort of like a corner sofa sort of situation in this room, and then I came away from that because I was like, I don't really want to do that in this house. I wanted to just keep it, I was going to say as simple as possible, but it's definitely not simple. That's not what I was trying to say. But anyway, I digress. So this is the little dollhouse here. So your Sims can come in here and enjoy a lot of family time. The child Sim can just play with the dollhouse and chill out, maybe grab a book from the bookshelf and chill out on the little chair here. I just thought it was a really nice idea, and I wanted to be in keeping, I wanted this space to be in keeping with the rest of the house. I didn't want it to be too like in your face and like really colourful or anything like that. I wanted it to be subtle, I suppose is the word that I would use there. But I thought it was really nice for the child Sim to have their own space over here. Now, depending on the dynamic of the family that you move in here, you might have more than one child, but you can add another chair there. You can do whatever you wanted to, really. So it's no big deal. But I love these base game paintings that came with the recent update. I used them a couple of times throughout the build, I believe, and I just think they look really nice. So living room is almost done, and then I think we move on to the master bedroom, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, this is the master bedroom. As you can see, it is a very very nice size. What I end up doing on the right hand side is I end up putting a fireplace with a couple of chairs, just so that the parents can sort of escape to this room. Now, if you wanted to put the grandparents in here, then you can, of course you can. There's nothing stopping you doing that. But this, in my head, was decorated as the master bedroom. And then I think after this we move on to the grandparents' room. So I'll talk to you about the differences between the rooms and sort of what I had in my mind. But yes, I think this is probably one of the least cluttered rooms in the house, because when it comes to bedrooms that aren't kids' rooms, I often struggle. If you're returning to the channel, then you already know this. I struggle with master bedrooms, but with this one, I actually really like how it came out. So please feel free to let me know your thoughts on this room. But yes, I love this seating area here. I just envisioned the parents just using this as a complete oasis, and hopefully that sort of comes across within the decor as well. And then I think we move on to the grandparents' room after this one. I'm trying to think of the order in which I did the rooms of this house. It worked out slightly odd, but in my head it was sort of working. And as I said, I didn't include the footage of the hallways or some of the bathrooms, because as I said, you'd have been here for an hour. On a Sunday, who's got time? Nobody. So this is the grandparents' room. So main differences here are I definitely use more traditional sort of furniture, and the thought process behind that was maybe the grandparents, when they moved out from their house, they brought like their bedside tables with them. I'm not saying they brought everything over, so you will see sort of hints of that sort of contemporary traditional sort of style that we've seen throughout the rest of the house, but I wanted it to just be different from the master bedroom, and I wanted it to be obviously the grandparents' room, but I didn't want it to be like stereotypically like an older person's bedroom. So this is what I ended up coming up with for this room. It's such a big size. I struggled with filling the space, and it did stump me for a while, but I do end up putting a fireplace in here. There's a little sofa that they can come and relax on and just enjoy each other's company. You might not have two grandparents in here, you might just have the one grandparent. So again, it's just their sort of oasis and a place for them to escape to get away from maybe the grandkids are just a bit too much for them on that day, or maybe they just feel like having a lazy day. I wanted them to have their own space, and so that's what I ended up coming up with for this room, even though I think this could have been 2 bedrooms, but then it would have been like a 10-bedroom house, and I'm thinking, well, that's just silly. So I do end up putting a chess table in here as well. Maybe the kids can come in here and play chess with the grandparents. I thought that was a really cute idea. So this is the upper floor. Now, the floor plan for the upstairs definitely took me a lot less time than the floor plan for the downstairs. One, because it's a smaller space, and 2, I kind of knew where I wanted to go. I knew I wanted to have 4 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms up here, so it came relatively easy to me. So you will see me, I'll talk a little bit about this when we get to it, but 2 of the kids actually share a bathroom, and then we have a main bathroom for the other kids. I thought that worked really, really well, especially for gameplay and then the realism too. So this is the first bedroom that we work on. This is my favourite bedroom of the entire house. I love the colour scheme, I love the vibe, the size is just right. I didn't have a particular gender in mind, whether it was a boy or whether it was a girl. It's definitely not catered towards either, so you can move whichever sim you like in here. I think some of the other rooms, I think 2 of the other rooms, I'm just trying to think now. The toddler room is like pastel pink, so in my head they had like a little girl, but if you wanted to change that up, that's absolutely fine. You can neutralise it or turn it into whatever you like. And then the teenage room is pretty gender neutral as well, and then the other kids room is quite gender neutral actually. So there's only one of them that I had in mind, like having like a girl. So this one, again, I absolutely love. It's fun, it's bright, it's so much. I just, if I was a kid, I would have absolutely loved to be in this room when I was growing up. It's just so, I love it. I love it so much. You'll have to let me know your thoughts on this one, because I can't remember the last time I've done like a yellow and blue colour scheme bedroom. I've probably done one before, I just can't remember the last time I did it. Because I remember in my last speed build, which I'll pop in the right hand corner for you now, I did like this teen room, and I made a point of saying that like it was one of my favourite like teen rooms that I've ever done, because it just worked out so well. Anyway, I digress. again, all the rooms are such a good size, and there is not a room in this house that feels tiny or feels small, even the bathrooms. And I just wanted it to be gameplay friendly, and it is play tested to the best of my ability. Obviously, I might have missed something. I am only human, so if you encounter any issues, I apologise, but please let me know so that I know for future reference. But you shouldn't have any issues. As I said, I tested it. I'm not going to say I didn't test it thoroughly, because I did. It's just after I built this house, like, my patience, I don't want to say was wearing thin at that point, but I was definitely running out of energy. So I might have missed something because I was sleep deprived. So when we're talking about clutter in this house, these kids' rooms are no exception. As you can see, I love cluttering up kids' rooms. They're just so much fun to do. I can't even tell you how much fun they are. So this is the other room. Now, in my head, I had a child in mind for this room who loves space. Again, boy or girl, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter for this room. And this is the one where I just went to town on the clutter. Now, what I'm probably going to try and do before I upload this to the gallery is I might add a couple of windows on this wall here just to break up the clutter, because it ended up looking far too much. And I will just point that out before we get onto it, because yeah, it just started to look a little bit much. Although now that I'm looking back, I can't remember if I end up putting like a wardrobe or a chair there or something in a little bit. But you'll see, like, look at everything that I'm putting on this wall right now. Like, it just looks so overwhelming. So I will double check exactly the status of it. So I did try to put a wardrobe there first, and then I was like, that doesn't look quite right, even though I think I probably should have left it there, because it would have stopped me trying to overclutter the walls. What am I like? I am a nightmare, honestly. When it comes to like placing items in The Sims, I am an absolute nightmare. I have this need to fill every single space. Does anyone else have that problem, or is it just a me thing? I really hope I'm not alone. Anyway, I love this colour scheme in this room. I love that it's so big, and they can have sleepovers in here. They can play in this tent. It's been... When was the last time I built a room that was big enough to fit this tent in? I don't think I ever have. And that's a genuine comment, because I love it. I can't remember which pack it came from. Is it the Dream Home Decorator pack? And you can, like, the kids and toddlers can play inside it. It's so sweet. Honestly, it's so cute. I can't cope with it. There is one in the toddler room as well, just as a forewarning. But I think in just a moment I end up rejigging some of the items in this room, because I'm like, it's a bit much. So, oh, I put a bookshelf there. Okay. It still looks overly cluttered though, in my opinion. I don't know. I don't know whether to go back and just have a rejig of that before I put this on the gallery. Obviously, by the time the video goes out, it will be available on the gallery. But at the moment, because I finished it yesterday, it's not on there yet. But by the time you guys are watching this, it will already be on there. So now here we have moved, onto the toddler room. It feels like it's been a really long time since I've done a toddler room, and it probably is, just because I feel very uninspired when I do toddler rooms, but for some reason I was feeling incredibly inspired yesterday when I did this, hence why it probably came out as cute as it did. Typically, I think, well, what can toddlers actually do? And then they're not toddlers for very long either. However, because it's a generations home, I had to cater for every single life stage. So that's the point of a generations home. You're catering for every single life stage, which technically I did. So the only thing I didn't do was have a nursery, but I don't know whether you guys are the same. But when I play The Sims, they don't stay babies for very long, because babies are just very annoying. So I tend to age them up into toddlers pretty much immediately. I might be speaking out of turn here, but I don't know whether other people do that as well. Anyway, so we go for a very soft pinky colour scheme here, and we do end up adding this little tent at the back, which I think is so cute. I'm obsessed with it. I don't know why I didn't keep that particular swatch. I think I changed it out for the, the farmyard swatch, that one there. I don't know why I did that. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It is what it is at this point. So there's lots of things for your toddler to do in here, so they will not be bored. The parents can come up and play. the other kids can come and join them in here. So it's just a very family oriented house, and I really hope your Sims have a lot of fun here. I do end up switching those toys out for something else, because when I was playtesting, my sim just kept putting them in the toy box and it was annoying me, so I ended up switching them out for something else entirely. This is the final room of the build. This is the teen room. Again, I didn't have a gender in mind for this at all, so you can move whichever sim you like to in here, and it's very, I would say, simple compared to the rest of the house, which isn't a bad thing. At all. I'm not going to keep harping on about it because it's going to get boring, but yes. So there's a TV, there's a games console, there's a little sofa as well, which I thought was a really nice touch. But I've just seen that I have run out of time. Oh my gosh. So you can get this house from the gallery right now. My origin ID is RachelPedd. Tray files, as always, are linked down in the description box below. You can get them for free from Simfile Share. But thank you so much for joining me here today, everyone. I hope you have the most amazing day ever, and I will see you next time I post a video. Bye!